Good evening. South Australians have been given a breather from interest rate torture.
After 3 consecutive hikes, the Reserve Bank has resisted forcing loan repayments up again, keeping its official cash rate at 4.35%.
But the RBA has already warned more pain could be coming.
Fruit shop owner Daniel Flaminio's worried consumer spending's going pear-shaped. But today,
there it is. As expected by many economists, rates on hold.
Some relief.
I guess everyone's relieved. We've had 3 rate increases this year, so we needed a bit of good news.
The Reserve Bank keeping rates on hold at 4.35%. The board's decision unanimous, but the inflation battle far from won.
I want to be very clear that inflation remains too high. We might have to do more. I'm just not ruling that out.
Buying time with the rest of the world to see what comes from Donald Trump's promise of an Iran peace deal on Friday, whether petrol prices come down and when the financial impact of the war will fade.
We're realistic about how long it will take for the global economy to normalise and what that means for us.
The banks divided on what comes next. The Commonwealth, NAB and ANZ all predicting no further rises this year and 2 cuts next year. Westpac predicting 2 more rises this year and 2 cuts, but not until 2028.
There's that risk that they have to go further in August and September.
November board meeting might be a good time to expect that.
And crunch time is fast approaching for the fuel excise cut. The government indicating it'll make a decision next week on whether to end it or extend it beyond the end of the month.
We'll give consideration to those matters.
That relief won't go on forever, but we will continue to review it between now and the end of the month.
The 32 cent a litre cut due to end on June 30. Daniel Flaminio says his customers are already tightening their belts.
Instead of buying premium fruits, they're looking for value for money.
And looking to bag a bargain. Reserve Bank Governor Michele Bullock says Australians shouldn't be too alarmed if economic growth slumps even further over coming months. That's something she says has to happen to get inflation down. The hope, though, is that it doesn't force mass job losses at the same time. Keeping unemployment low is the second of the RBA's major objectives after inflation. And the Governor also delivered a timely reminder for the government. Inflation was a big problem for our economy well before this war started, and it will continue to be a big problem well after it ends. Will?
All right, thank you, Mark. Now to a bombshell claim from a Craigmore woman accused of murdering her elderly parents with fatal doses of her own insulin.
She's told the court her father may have accessed her medication and taken his own life.
Raylene Polymiadis' high-profile barrister came out swinging on day 2 of the trial, putting the state's legal team to proof. Can the prosecution prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was my client who administered the insulin? Telling the jury a key issue at trial would be whether the prosecution can exclude the reasonable possibility that Mr. Linton Anderson administered the insulin to himself. Raylene Polymiadis is accused of injecting her 94-year-old parents Brenda and Linton Anderson with fatal doses of her own insulin 14 months apart. Ms Shaw said during the police interview after her arrest, Polymiadis denied she had administered the insulin but accepted it could have been accessed by Mr Anderson. She said in the lead up to Mr Anderson's death in 2023, he was losing or had lost the will to live, and he had not only talked about suicide, but had stated to a support worker that he knew how he would do it. Another point of contention for the defence team is the accuracy of blood sample testing. Deanna Williams, 7 News.
And Deanna joins us from the Supreme Court now, where the accused killer's siblings have been called to testify, Dee.
Rosanna, Raylene Polymiadis' brother and sister are the first witnesses to be called in this marathon trial. Graham Anderson spent most of the day giving evidence. He told the jury how he'd argued with his father about going into a nursing home. Both parents were adamant they wanted to continue living independently despite their deteriorating health. Mr Anderson said at no stage did his sister give him any indication that she planned to kill their parents, adding he wouldn't lie to help her. Late this afternoon, a second sibling entered the witness box and she'll be back tomorrow to continue her evidence. Will.
Thank you, Dee. Residents at Torrens Park are demanding answers after a massive pine tree fell this morning, crushing a collectible car. They previously raised concerns about the tree, but the local council says it was only inspected last month.
The pine that once towered over Torrens Park came crashing down around 4 a.m.
Look what's happened. It's just amazing. I can't believe it.
Jesus, it's enormous.
The colossal canopy collapsing on the cul-de-sac.
It was a real bang. It was a big bang. It was like, it just bang.
Crushed underneath a 1992 Toyota, complete with Japanese plates, a labour of love for its owner, an engineering student who'd been restoring it since October. To make matters worse, his mum made him park it on the street last night, and he isn't insured.
I think Mum's in trouble this morning. It's been in the street for a little while now, and yeah, it's really great that nobody was hurt.
The car is under there somewhere. It's just incredible.
Specialist arborists called in to deal with the mess. Despite the damage, neighbours say the outcome could have been far worse. The pine coming to rest just metres from a 1952 Riley RM, worth more than $100,000. Residents say they raised multiple concerns about the maintenance of the protected tree with the council before it fell overnight.
It's always been huge, it's always been on a bit of a lean.
I believe there are a lot of work needs to be done on the street. We have a lot of trees like this.
Mitcham Council says it was inspected by an arborist just last month who found it in good condition. Now, nothing more than mulch. Jonathan Edwards, 7 News.
And a severe weather warning's been issued for parts of the state tomorrow, with flash flooding possible on the west coast.
Let's go live to Casey with the details. Casey, how much rain are we expecting in the city?
Well, for the city, 10 to 30 millimetres, and that'll be pretty widespread across the state. But in western parts, we could see isolated falls of up to 60 millimetres in as little as 6 hours. But already we're seeing creeks and rivers everywhere flowing with lots of water. Local kids here in Bridgewater testing the limits in the fast-moving current. Not everyone was impressed, prompting a visit from SAPOL with a safety warning and asking them to move on. Not a pretty sight in the Torrens. The river flow there has pushed up rubbish and duckweed into the weir, while overnight downpours of 30 to 50 millimetres led to some flooding on the Eyre Peninsula there. This small caravan park forced to close for the week, with a severe warning again for heavy rain in that area tomorrow. Despite it being winter, well, the sustained nature of this rain is actually unusual for this time of year. Big rainfall totals and multiple days in a row.
We're at halfway through June, so that's pretty significant amount of rain, given June is one of the wettest times of the year through Adelaide.
And I'll have a closer look at what we can expect in the week ahead a little later this hour.
All right, thank you, Casey.